Hey, it's Sol with another video, and today I'm going to provide some more ongoing feedback of the Battle for Azeroth expansion, as we now have all of the endgame systems in place. This is a little bit weird because there's going to be a bit of focus put onto Warfronts as well as Island Expeditions. I know that came out obviously much sooner, but I wanted to talk about both of these systems specifically, but not exactly about the game modes themselves. I'll just touch on it briefly right now while you look at some footage in the background that I find Warfronts to be fairly fun. I enjoy the gameplay, I enjoy the engagement with dealing with different NPCs and the way that players have to work together in order to accomplish some pretty crazy objectives, even though sometimes things might not work out and things might get a little bit buggy. As for Island Expeditions though, they're alright. Okay, maybe I'll touch on these a little bit more. The reward systems between Warfronts and Island Expeditions, I'm gonna have trouble pronouncing this throughout the video, is that they're really imbalanced right now. I almost wondered to myself whether or not, because, well, let me explain really quick. With Warfronts, every time you complete one, you get a piece of gear with an item level of 340. On top of that, there is the weekly completion. When you do that, you get an item level 370 piece of gear, but all in all, just completing Warfronts over and over again will pretty much deck you out in almost all 340 item level gear, which is quite nice. It's actually the equivalent of just regular good old mythic dungeon gear. And given this recording, it's also the same item level of Raid Finder gear, which we're going to see tomorrow. It kind of sort of makes you wonder, hey, what's the point of doing Raid Finder if I'm going to get equivalent item level gear like right now, but I'm going to get to that a little bit later. Going back to Island Expeditions, like I said, the difference between rewards between those and Warfronts is markedly different. Island Expeditions, for the most part, don't really give gear upgrades. They give cosmetics, they give toys, and some cool things, but largely you don't go there necessarily for power, you kind of sort of go there for artifact power. So whoop-de-doo, you get a little bit of artifact power in order to level up your Heart of Azerite neck, in order to unlock whatever the heck traits are on your armor set pieces. A while back, I made a critique on these two systems, Warfronts and Island Expeditions, and I asked myself, or I asked you folks at home and on the toilet, this question: do they have a good place in the World of Warcraft paradigm as it is right now? I'm not going to question whether or not they're fun, that's up to you to decide, but I'm going to question, just like I said, where do they fit with regards to rewards, with regards to just what's your day-to-day, what's your week-to-week schedule, just what is your normal gameplay, and I guess, do these two new game modes add a little bit too much bloat into our activity? It's a little bit hard to say yes, and let's touch on Island Expeditions first. Expedition's primary purpose is to give artifact power, and then on top of that, cool cosmetics, toys, and whatnot. Despite what was said in earlier statements in the Q&A, Island Expeditions aren't exactly the primary source of artifact power. Depending on your playstyle, you may farm world quests instead, and just farm a little bit of those each and every day because they're very clearly easier and much faster to complete than an expedition. Keep in mind that also farming artifact power has a diminishing return thanks to the whole artifact or Azerite knowledge system. Because with every level that you gain, naturally the requirement goes up, but as time goes by, your knowledge level goes up and the experience requirement goes down. So I'm going to get into that whole Azerite bit in a future video, but in a nutshell, there's only so much Azerite, or artifact power that you want to farm until you just don't want to farm anymore. It makes these Island Expeditions as a gameplay option, it makes it an option, but not a very attractive one relative to something else like World Quests. Options are good. Some people are just tired of running World Quests. They don't need the rep anymore, for example. And so the player habit might switch from the somewhat more efficient World Quests approach and move to my Island Expeditions, because on top of getting their weekly Azerite, I'm going to keep making this mistake. On top of their weekly artifact power gains, they might get some cool little cosmetic thing. And the experience that we're getting with Island Expeditions, and well, again, this is all my opinion, but what we got wasn't quite what we were sold. I at least am not feeling the engaging gameplay of trying to explore this brand new island and trying to figure out what's going on. If anything, I just see a bunch of targets and I want to kill everything. The less than awesome experience that I'm having in Island Expeditions really takes away the attractiveness of the system. Even after I'm done getting the reputations I need, I don't feel very attracted to do island expeditions afterwards. I actually feel pretty bad that one of the biggest pluses that I'm seeing with island expeditions is that I don't have to do them. I have to stress though that this isn't me reaching out to pity this system. I do think that it is in fact good to have multiple options to get to the same goal. However, when it comes to the mindset of going down the path of least resistance, a quote that we've heard many times before, chances are that for me that path will not include queuing up for those expeditions. I'll go for the cosmetics, if they ever drop. So now let me circle back once again and go back to Warfronts and just how this fits into the whole Battle for Azeroth paradigm, and I would argue that it fits much better given the frequency that we would be running them. I have to admit that it is very weird that I can keep running them over and over again and keep getting 340 gear until I'm done, pretty much. I find it quite suspicious that not even a month into the Battle for Azeroth that there is a devastatingly powerful catch-up mechanism like Island Expeditions that I can continually run and get a full allotment of 340 gear, even though tomorrow is going to be the first day of the Looking for Raid version of Uldir, which traditionally gives us that level of gear. Maybe this is some sort of bug that Blizzard doesn't care to admit, and if we see another Warfront, then we might just see a, hey, you know what, complete your first Warfront and you'll complete this weekly thing and you get your 340 or 3 whatever piece of gear, but after that you might get, I don't know, artifact power. Anyway, back to now, what are Warfronts for? So unlike Island Expeditions, which offer an alternate method of acquiring artifact power, albeit a kind of weak one, Warfronts provide gear, lots and lots of gear, extremely quickly, and it threatens to negate a lot of previous content, including world quests, heroic dungeons, mythic dungeons, and probably other stuff that I missed. But it's a lot. Warfronts have just barged into the Battle for Azeroth and have dominated the gearing landscape. And I make the argument that if Warfronts were designed to distribute gear in this manner, it's too fast. It's too much, dude. It's hard to not fall into the hyperbole that it feels like these first 3-4 weeks of the Battle for Azeroth expansion have felt kind of pointless with regards to trying to gear up quickly because, dude, this Warfront came and it just replaced or negated all of our efforts. And maybe it was to help give a good kickstart and get people excited about Warfront. I mean, I was pretty excited to all of a sudden get a whole lot of gear. What it also does though, given just how much gear we're able to get out of this, it compels what I feel is unwanted behavior in part of those players who have many alts that happen to be at max level at the moment. I'm pretty sure that those players with those characters are running Warfronts all the way through until they're able to fully deck out their characters. And because of that, the opportunity to graduate away from other content, as in like World Quest, Heroic Dungeons, Heroic Dungeons, funny, and Mythic Dungeons too, I've got to ask, is Blizzard trying to encourage players into getting into like normal raid content or Mythic Plus content? Because I would argue that that's not really a good idea. So to quickly sum up my feedback, I think that Island Expeditions are not very relevant in the current game's landscape. Meanwhile, Warfronts are much too relevant. They're pushing away the relevance of other content that up until now we were freely running and farming through. As for what to do about them, with Warfronts, that's at least pretty easy. I would just say to not have gear drop every time you complete a Warfront. The gear pacing obviously won't be as fun, but I think it would be a lot more balanced and a lot more reasonable, and it'd be a better pace to get to limit the amount of gear that you get. As for Island Expeditions though, that's a lot tougher because you're trying to work to make Island Expeditions feel relevant without making it feel required, and that's something that I think Blizzard should avoid as well. Island Expeditions don't take very long to complete, which isn't a bad thing, but it also promotes that whole go, go, go kind of attitude that really takes away from the experience. So I think in this case, it might be too late to really fix Island Expeditions and make them fun and enjoyable and compelling. If we were to force it to be compelling, then I would say to take out most artifact power rewards from all the world quests, and then that would definitely make Island Expeditions the place to go in order to get to your next level. Taking the nerf bat to that though, I really don't think is a good idea, so I don't really have a solution. So that's it for me, and I would love to hear from you folks, and of course, speak for yourselves. What do you think of Island Expeditions and Warfronts? Where do they fit in the World of Warcraft to you? Do you care about them? Are you going to be running them continually as they come out? Let me know your thoughts and share your feedback in a comment below. Please like this video if you enjoyed yourself, and subscribe for more of this and all things Warcraft. I'll see you next time. Until then, stay safe, stay happy, and stay breezy.